If anything, I'll give the movie credit. When you can take something that I really don't care about and make it entertaining and at the very least an enjoyable watch, then in my book, you done did diggity did do something right.
I believe in his son. I believe he's the future. And his story is gonna make us want to fly. But a shoe is just a shoe.
Until my son steps into it.
And today we have Air. That's right, folks, the motivation is back, if only for one night and one night only. I have fallen behind, and there are several films I need to catch up on. Most of the next few days, including this one here, are films that have steadily, if not already, fallen out of relevance. I think this one is still showing in theaters. I'm not gonna lie, I kinda had to drag myself out of the house to go see this one. I wasn't crazy excited about it, but I gotta give every film its fair shake, you know? What is Air about? I'm sure you've seen a trailer, maybe. I think I saw more marketing online for this than anything else. It's technically an Amazon Studios joint, right? So it had a theatrical release, and I think it's still in theaters right now, maybe, but I think people are predominantly going to watch this one when it eventually makes its way to Prime Video. Air is actually I always say his last name wrong. Ben Affleck. Affleck? No, not Affleck. Affleck. It's Ben's latest directorial film. You know who this guy is. Come on. You've seen the memes. This poor grizzled man. I recently covered him. He was the star of the okay movie Hypnotic, but he's been in other stuff, some other heavy hitters, and he every now and then when the mood strikes him, he directs a film. IMDb technically only has him showing like 7 official directorial credits, what you might know him for directing in the past, such films as Argo, which I remember really liking it, but it's been years since I've seen it, so I gotta give it a rewatch. And the other film, which, hot take time, I think The Town is overrated. I can go into further detail in the future if you'd like. It's alright. I think it's massively overrated. Not to say that Ben is like bad at directing or anything. I think the films are all directed just fine. This one included. It's directed just fine. Star power, bunch of household names, which I think is part of what helped get this movie into the public eye and get people interested. Because you have Ben Affleck directing and like kind of starring. I mean, he has an important role in the film. I mean, I guess you can call him one of the main characters, right? But our main characters, in my mind anyway, are Matt Damon, again, household name, like you know him, and Jason Bateman, who, again, I believe, household name, you probably know him. I do want to give a shout out. She is, again, technically one of the main characters. I mean, hell, she plays the character of Michael Jordan's mother, but we love Viola Davis. Viola Davis. Love to see her. I don't care much about sports. I don't care much about racing. In this case, I don't really care much about shoes. I think literally what's in the thumbnail, the only name brand shoes that I really own are Converse. When I was growing up, my mother was very much like, okay, we find shoes that'll work well for what you're getting and they match with the price, and it was always budget shoes. So I never really got into the whole like Nike or Adidas craze or anything like that. Personally, I get it. I spend money, a lot of money on stuff like this. You don't want to know how much some of those pop figures were worth when I bought them and are worth now. I personally can never justify paying hundreds of dollars for like a limited edition sneaker or something. Again, you like it, I get it. That's fine. For me, I never got it, but you know, respecto. But all things considered, I mean, this is an interesting story, and it's almost less about the shoe and more about the people behind the shoe, you know? The whole plot of Air is it's what takes place in the early 80s, and it's like a dramatized but like based on true events type of story, which funny enough, we're getting a lot of those this year. At one point, Nike wasn't a huge company. I think they only accounted for, it was like 20 to 30 something % of the market. I think honestly Converse and which I never knew Converse was, but yeah, Converse and Adidas were more or less dominating the market, kind of. But you have Matt Damon's character who's trying to like find, he's a scouter, I guess, in different basketball leagues and associations. I'm kind of free balling it here. I don't know much about how sports and sports scouting works and all that. But he's just trying to find like the next big thing or person or people to help promote lines of shoes, because like any other product, so-and-so uses this product while they're performing, everyone's going to want to buy them, yada yada yada. And this is the whole story about how Matt Damon's character, he really sees something special in Michael Jordan, and he knows that some of the other companies kind of do as well. So it's just basically trying to convince Michael Jordan and his family to sign with Nike and not with Converse or Adidas or any other competing shoe companies. And instead of doing multiple athletes, they just want to do one athlete, kind of put all their eggs into one basket and try to kind of have him as the figurehead and build the shoe around him instead of just having him wear the shoe. As I said, all things considered, I don't care that much about the whole world of shoes and all that, but that being said, I did find this film enjoyable, interesting, and informative. I thought it was interesting to see, even if there's aspects of it that are dramatized or that aren't quite necessarily accurate, or where certain aspects were played up for comedic or dramatic purposes. I thought the story of Michael Jordan and the Air Jordans and all that was interesting. I liked the story. It was enough to get me to at least go out and roll the dice on this film and keep my butt in the seat. Overall, I think it's all well acted. All the actors, bring their usual A game to the table. Nothing that's Oscar worthy, mind you, but it's all good. It's all really good in moments. It's solid performances. I will say, this isn't a bad thing. Again, I like the guy, but I feel like Ben Affleck is a little bit one note. Like, he brings emotion to his roles, but I feel like all his roles are kind of the same, like just tired man, just kind of, or there's just grunting through a movie like Batman, or even in this movie, he's a corporate guy who's like, I don't know if you're making the right call here, man, but it's 1983 and we're gonna give it a go. And like, I don't know. He's a good actor. I enjoy him in whatever he's in, but I just think he just kind of plays the same. I don't know. It's almost like he's typecasting himself. I would love to see him in a wider variety of roles. I will say, once I learned more about the process of how this all worked and the creation of the shoe, I tell you what, I kind of gained some insight and a little bit of respect into, like, Matt Damon and Jason Bateman's character and all that, but I really liked learning about Peter Moore. I believe that's the gentleman's name, but the actual guy who, his passion, and I can empathize heavily with passion. This man's passion is about inventing shoes and trying to do, style or performance, or in this case, trying to maybe combine both, and the color, the design. I don't know the first thing about making a good shoe, but this guy invented the damn Air Jordans. And what sucks is that he died just a few months before this film came out. So it was nice to kind of did, like, this whole movie, in my opinion, is a tribute, first of all, to Michael Jordan and the legacy, the immense, massive, international legacy that Michael Jordan and the Air Jordans, in turn, but mostly the legacy the person has left, but also Peter Moore. Like, just want to, don't want to try to undermine anybody here, but the man who represented the shoe and the man who created the shoe, it was nice to see them, if anything, immortalized in film like this. So I like that, and I'm glad they took the time to point this out. And Matt Damon does have a nice monologue towards the end about it, where at the end he's like, "Look, we're all gonna, like, we're just here for a brief moment in the sunshine. We're just doing our jobs, trying to help ourselves and help other people. But at the end of the day, he's like, we're all gonna be not remembered. Like, we're all gonna die, fade to dust. But this is about, if we can do this partnership properly and take our unique angle of, not just putting you in our shoe, but building the shoe around you and that brand, that legacy, it'll cement you in the history and the halls of the world." And I did like that angle to it, because it's true. They intersplice a lot of real footage from back then and throughout the years and to the present involving all these people, including Michael Jordan. And I mean, the cultural and societal impact that man has had on the world, the sports world, the shoe world, just the world in general, as an inspiration, like, yada yada yada. It's great, and I'm glad they acknowledge that and made it so that it was almost less about the shoe and more about the person wearing the shoe. All that being said, I must unfortunately say I didn't love the movie. I mean, I was entertained, but I wasn't really entertained. I don't know. The pacing for me was just kind of meh. There wasn't really a wow factor to the film. It was just kind of just shot in a standard, typical way. The scenes just played out as just, kind of just engaging enough where I was along for the ride. I can't quite put my finger on it. I just felt like there were aspects of it that were repetitive in a way, just kind of Matt Damon's plight a lot of the time was him asking the same questions to the same people, and even to Ben Affleck, which is like his supervisor, his boss or whatever, and just asking the same questions, rephrasing it to people, being like, I think we should do this. Do you think I should do this? Maybe I should do this. Well, I'm going to try to do this. Hopefully this will work. Well, here we go, trying to do this. And I don't know. It just, the movie had a steady pulse, but it was never very exciting or immensely engaging for me. It just kind of was. It just existed. It was a thing. I like the scenes with Michael Jordan's family. The meeting scenes were funny. The bits with the lawyer over the phone were funny, sure. Monologue toward the end was good, and the whole idea of this all being in memoriam was solid. It was nice. It was heartfelt in moments, entertaining. I say heartfelt in moments. This film did a really weird thing where normally in a film like this, you would take opportunity, not a whole lot, but at moments throughout, especially with your main characters, to humanize them further, you kind of delve a bit more into what, maybe their personal life, what they have going on, maybe their vices. And although we established that our main character has a bit of a gambling problem at the beginning, I felt like it never really surfaced more than just surface value, like, oh, you like taking risks, don't you? And that's about it. We get one scene where Jason Bateman reveals that he has an estranged daughter and kind of so a little bit of family on the line here. And there's one other scene where Matt Damon, once hearing this, looks out across the office and sees, evidence of people having lives and family, and he has that internal realization of, oh man, there's people. I have not a whole lot to lose aside from my job, but people, if this gamble, if this bet that I'm going all in on doesn't work out, this could be dozens, if not hundreds of people losing their job, and I'm risking all of this by just going off of my gut and my hunch. So there's one decent moment of that. And then it was nice when he goes to talk to the family. Viola Davis's character, Michael Jordan's mother, does break it down some more and kind of brings you more to, well, this is about making sure that Michael's, successful. I see the special in him, that he's safe and provided for, all that. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that there are moments where they do kind of humanize characters more and try to make it more emotional throughout, but not as much as I would have liked to or honestly preferred to have seen. It was just... it was spotty here and there, and it was just kind of like, if you're gonna do it, then do it. But they kind of did it. I don't know. And I will say, and I've never really talked about this before, but especially in biopics or in based on true story movies, some movies do what I call, and I've never really mentioned it on my channel before, I don't think, but end of movie text syndrome. Basically, where it's like, here's where they all today, they'll have whether it's a freeze frame being like they all didn't make it home, or like, oh, Ben Canardis went over to here to work as a corporate bobo, and then Fred Schwargisberg over here ended up going down for all, movies like this do that a lot, and that's fine. I get it, but this movie might have the most end of film text segments that I've seen in any film in my life. It's like text to fill you in, for almost, if not probably 5 minutes, at the very end. And some of them were just little jokes, some of them were prevalent factoids, but I thought it was hilarious how much epilogue there was to this movie in the form of text over screen or video or whatever. I just thought it was funny, and I don't think it was necessary. I believe in show over tell, And the last complaint I'll have, because I realized I'm just kind of listing off a lot of complaints at this point, but it's one of those films like movies and TV that take place in a certain time period and don't really keep on nudging you about it. If a movie, they're just oh no, this is all indicative of the time period, and you can tell that based on what things look like or how people sound, and that's all well and good. But some movies or shows, and especially this one, some movies will have those they'll be like, hey, it's the 80s, huh? Look at the clothing, look at how people are acting, how people are talking. I get it. Like, we know what time period we're in. You can show us, we can get it, big context clues, but if it felt like one of those movies that's constantly reminding you, like, hey, this is the 80s, look at how Ben Affleck's dressed. It's the 80s, look at where they're going, look at the cars they're driving and the colloquialisms. It's like, end of the day, like, Air wasn't a bad film or anything like that. I've just, in terms of the films that I've seen this year, it's not up there with the greats. And in terms of films based on true stories, out of this last like couple months alone, I've seen way better, which, by the way, next review I think is going to be for Blackberry, and boy, do I have some positive things to say about that film. But as it stands, I gotta give credit where credit's due. I think Air pulls through just enough to give you an above average film due to the messaging of the people over the shoe, which I pointed out before, and kind of the tribute to the characters therein. The actors all kind of pull this film together in an adequate enough way where I could safely and securely say, yeah, Air, above average. I'd give it like a high 3 out of 5. I could safely say high 3 out of 5. There are better out there, but there are certainly worse. I don't know if it's still in theaters. Maybe catch it on a stream. It could be worth a little watch, but I'm not crazy about it, and I wouldn't say, drop what you're doing now and watch it. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching. Gonna knock these out one at a time, but stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.